You are listening to the Next Play podcast, the playbook for high-performing leaders who want to exceed their full potential. From walking on the Ole Miss football team at 5'7", 150 pounds and earning a full D1 scholarship, to coaching thousands around the world and working with massive organizations like IBM. I've learned countless lessons that I'll be sharing right here with you. Join me as I interview some of the most successful people so you too can learn how to focus on always moving forward by deciding, planning, and executing on the next play relentlessly. This is Richie Contartesi with the Next Play podcast, and today we have a special guest by the name of Jefferson Rogers. He is an entrepreneur. He's about to launch a book that is definitely going to be a bestseller. He has an event coming up that I'm super excited to walk through, and he's also a real estate investor, but what he did is go from nothing, frustrated, down, to building a $20 million company in 4 years. He's got a lot to share around leadership, around business, around entrepreneurship. And so I'm excited to have you on the show here today, Jefferson.
Right on, Richie. I appreciate you having me on, brother. Looking forward to it.
Yeah. So dude, I just want to know, like, let's just get right into business. I want to talk about business with you and entrepreneurship.
Let's do it.
How did you go from 0 to 20 million in 4 years? Like, that's serious growth in a short period of time.
Yeah, man. It has been, it's been a big commitment, a lot of time, a lot of growth, a lot of hard lessons learned. And there's no way to grow that fast without getting your teeth kicked in along the way and being able to deal with failure at a really fast pace so you can rack up the wins. It was really 4.5 years ago. I was in a really tough place dealing with addiction, drugs and alcohol, and got to a really, kind of this low rock bottom, some would say, even though it wasn't all that bad as far as like some people living under a bridge and stuff like that. Still had my house, still had my family. I was still just barely hanging on to it all by a thread, and had a big fight at a concert, knocked this guy out, drove away in my truck, drunker than I'd ever been before, probably. And then luckily didn't kill anybody. But the sequence of events that followed after that, and the shame and the patching things up with my wife and my family and my pride after the shit show that I created, it was this turning point in my life where, I didn't want to go down that road anymore. I was sick and tired of being sick and tired and being looked at as somebody that was dealing with addiction problems and, inconsistency as a father and a provider, and just decided to really turn it on. Got involved with a mentor program and surrounded myself with great people. Got sober in January of 2018. And that led to starting my business 2 months after that. And man, I just been going hard 4.5 years now, been going hard, putting in work, developing myself as a leader and creating systems and processes for my business. And the company's gone from just me to now approaching 100 people, and getting to a point where now I'm sharing a lot of the lessons along the way and putting on an event September 21st and 22nd called the Home Services Scaling Summit. And really excited about giving back to all the business owners that are maybe in a similar place to what I've been over the past 4 years, trying to build the business and figure out what's the things that can speed up the process, and bringing in not only motivational speakers, which there is some of that, but mostly an entire team of experts in the home services industries to help people in all the other areas that I'm not all that good at.
Dude, that's awesome, man. What do you feel like? And I want to jump into the event, but before we do, what do you feel like was the biggest contributing factor, right? You mentioned you joined a mentorship program, you did this, you were kind of at that point of sick and tired, but what was the biggest contributing factor that you said, okay, I'm going to go start my own business? Because that's a big jump, right? Those are two big different places. What was the contributing factor that first said, hey, let me go start a business?
You know what it was? It was years and years and years of these things happening over and over in my life that kind of led to that. So it wasn't like just one moment. It was a lot of years of having problems with drug and alcohol, and not knowing that that wasn't aligned with who I wanted to be and the example that I wanted to be for my family. And then it was really just getting to that really low point and being tired of it. And then I would say one of the biggest things was that it was just not going to be acceptable for me anymore. I didn't have to go to any AA or join any, rehabs or anything like that. It was just, I struggled with it for long enough. I was tired of it. I made a decision to not make it acceptable in my life anymore. And I just focused all of that same addictive energy and all those tendencies and habits. And I just started one by one getting rid of those and replacing them with positive habits, and just traded one addiction for another. One just happened to be negative, and the other one has been focused on productivity and positivity and growth and becoming a better version of myself every day.
Dude, that's awesome. So like that addiction went from, drugs and alcohol to business to success. Actually, I was having a conversation recently with with my team, and we were talking about we were all talking about like why we did what we did, or what was the purpose of it. And one of them, or I said, I'm addicted to that high you get from success. And so wanting other people to have that feeling, that high, like you have, I'm sure, right? It's like every day. And that high, and you wanting other people to have it, it makes us drug dealers, like helping other people have that success, right? And feel what that's like. And so you took one addiction and then you brought it to business and success in business. Is that right?
That's it, man. Yep. I was going down this path for a long time that was destructive. It took up a lot of my energy, a lot of my time, a lot of my thought capacity. I mean, I literally for years and years and years was going home early because I was so focused on drinking the rest of that 30 pack and smoking some weed and kind of unwinding and all the justifications that I know so many other people deal with that are dealing with addiction. And once I got some of those things out of the way, it was like, dude, there was nothing holding me back besides just experience and time and all the things that come with learning the lessons along the way. And I still got a long ways to go, but I just been focusing it very intently on production and growth and providing opportunities for other people.
Why JK Windows? Why start a Windows company?
Yeah. So JKR is my initials. And man, there's kind of a funny story behind it. I originally had the plan of calling it Hero Windows, and I was so excited about starting a business, and I drew up logos, and then every person I talked to about Hero Windows kind of gave me this funny look like, oh yeah, that's great. So they weren't as excited about it as I was, but I had as the backup name, just naming it after myself. And I've got 3 little brothers, and we've got a cool story, cool family dynamic. And when I told people about that, then they were, I got whole different responses, and it ended up being JKR Windows. And over the past 4 years, I've worked with all of my family. I worked with some of my stepbrothers, all of my little brothers, my mom and my dad, and none of them work for me anymore. But, we've got a family dynamic in the type of business that we've created. And, it just happened to be Windows. It could have been anything. It could have been like washing dumpsters or pressure washing or, doing siding. And I just happened to have a mentor of mine that introduced me to Windows, and they've got an incredible sample window that when he brought it to my house to show me for the first time, I didn't own a home. He was just kind of excited about it. And man, I got excited about learning sales because there was this sample window and this technology that people just didn't know about was an option for their home for energy efficiency and functionality. And it still took me a long time to pick it up because I was coming from a place of smoking weed for a long time, not being all that good at talking to people, and was relying early on like charisma and good looks to get sales. And that type of stuff just doesn't work all that well if you don't polish your skills too. But now it's turned into training systems and this success system that we've created for our business and for other businesses that can help people really accelerate the process and bringing people in, not having to go through what I went through in the beginning, knowing that I wanted to get into sales and there was a huge opportunity there. But man, without a training system, without guidance, I really got my ass kicked for a long time.
Yeah. So walk me through that. Like, so you got this first window and you're like, okay, I'm going to go sell this. How did you build the business? Did it start with you just literally knocking on doors?
That was it, man. I had done it for 3 years before I ever started my business. And it was, I had helped them open up a bunch of locations, and I just saw an opportunity that these guys were kind of set in their ways and not looking to really expand and go to the next level. And I'd gotten involved with this mentor program during that time working for them. And I was really stretching them as a company and their sales meetings because of all the extra things that I was doing, and started feeling kind of that feed or that pushback in the meetings of, you're doing too much and you're asking too much and your goals are too big. And it was just like,
In a sales meeting? Damn.
I was just kind of challenging.
That?
I was just challenging everybody. I mean, inevitably, if you have a high producer that's challenging everybody else, it's threatening for somebody to be doing that much more than everybody. And I was starting to feel that pressure. And so, it was the right place, right time. I was getting through addiction and detox and just kind of got the guts to go start my own business. And I had gotten some advice from one of my mentors that, I already know how to sell. You don't need to borrow money. For the most part, most companies don't have to have this plethora of resources and capital to be able to go get started. You just got to go out there and get in front of people. And you got to sell your products for high enough prices at a fast enough pace to keep you in business. And that's all I did, man. I just went out there by myself. It was just me. I did everything in the business.
Wow. So you were solo, straight up solo in the beginning.
Yeah, I did everything, man. I was 100% committed. Knocking the doors, closing the deals, processing the contracts, initiating all the window orders, making sure everything got scheduled, building all the relationships with the installers. I mean, entrepreneurship is no joke. If you think that you're up for the task of becoming an entrepreneur, starting your own business, it's going to be a challenge, and there's nobody going to put in the work for you. You got to go do it. And that's for 2 years. For the first 2 years of my business, I didn't take vacations. I barely took days off. I barely saw my family, and I just grinded all day, every day, working 18 to 20 hour days because I had these visions and these goals of what I wanted to create, this other company that I wanted to prove to them what was possible, and the size of the company that was the potential to grow using the same business model. And it turned out to be a whole lot more once I started really hanging around people that thought much bigger, even bigger than I ever thought was possible.
Yeah, no, that's important. It's like, so the first 2 years you were solo. What did you build it to in that first 2 years before you started bringing people on? Was it at least a couple million? Did you
So I started in March of 2018. I did my first contract in April of 2018, and I did $1.2 million in sales in that last 8 months of the year. And it was, it was me. Nice. And I had recruited a couple of sales guys to help me set appointments, but it was me. I closed every single deal for the first 2 years. The second year I brought in my mom, and she helped me with some of the admin, processing, payroll type of stuff.
Nice.
But it was still me closing every single deal. And the second year we did 2.2 million in sales.
Doubled
it. Yep. And then when 2020 hit, I had some big goals, gotten involved in a consulting program that was, in great alignment with my company. And then I just did absolutely everything that they told me to do. And then March of 2020 hit, COVID, and everybody telling me that I need to shut my doors and we need to quarantine, send everybody home and start working from home. And I did the exact opposite. I called an emergency on March 17th. I said, everybody, if you're serious about being here, you better be at the office at 9 a.m. We're doing an emergency meeting. And I laid it out for everybody. I was like, you don't have to, but this is what we're doing. we're going to go harder. We're going to work longer. We're going to train more than we ever have before, because we're going to have to become better salespeople than we've ever had to be before in this type of market. And I got everybody's commitment. Not one person went home. Not one person backed out. And while everybody else was contracting and scared and going into, what do you call it? Quarantine. Everybody's trying to condition me to go home and do quarantine. We turned it up, man. And we ended up,
you did the opposite.
We went from 2 million in 2019 to $10 million in revenue in 2020.
Wow. So that's insane increase. What was that, like 500%?
500%, man. Yep. It's hard to duplicate 500% again, but that was, right place, right time, right message, leadership, and buy-in from the team. And man, we went hard that year.
Dude, contractions are by far. Contractions are the time to grow, are the best time to grow. Yep. They really are. And I know about a lot of businesses right now are scared. We're pumped, man. This is it. This is the best
I'm excited
time.
too. And that's one of the things
ads
that I
are cheaper. I don't know if you know, like it's better.
Yep.
What were you saying?
It is, man. That's one of the things, one of the big topics that we're going to be covering at the Home Services Scaling Summit in September is, we're going into a tough market, whether everybody wants to believe it or not. Things have been good for a long time, and people that aren't all that good at business have been able to see success for the last 10 years. And it's going to start challenging people at a whole new level.
It kind of like cleans up the market a little bit. It's going to clean
100%.
up.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
And if you're not positioned with the right team and the right message and surround yourself with the right mentors and coaches to be able to get through this, maybe you haven't had to have that for the last 10 years to get to the point that you are now. But if you think you can go it alone for the next couple of years while we're going through this next contraction and recession and the economy going into scarcity mode, you're going to have some new things to apply to your business to be able to come out the other side still in the black.
So let's dive into that a little. Actually, before we dive into that, I just real quick. So you went from 2 to 10. How many people did you add in order to do that? Were you just starting to finally start recruit closers at that point?
You know what? That's the interesting thing is it wasn't a huge increase in people. It was just accountability, and it was training, and it was daily meetings. There was a couple of things that we were missing from the structure and from the dynamic of the company that, it was a lot of it had to do with my involvement with the company and the leadership that I was developing and putting the responsibility on new people's hands that could take some of the weight off of me. And, it was a really small increase in people, but with some of those other components, the efficiency of what we were doing, the effectiveness of what we were doing went through the roof. And, we're approaching about 100 people now, but back then, we were, 50, 60 people, and we were just really efficient, working long hours, had everybody's buy-in to doing something special in 2020 and proving to everybody that COVID is a bullshit story. And we're going to be able to come out on top when everybody else is going the other way.
Yeah. And so, okay. So then how did you transition? How did you make the leap from 10 to 20? Cause that's always a big one too. 10 to 20, then 50, then 100. What did you do there? How did you make that happen?
You know what? Over the last year and a half with my operations staff, we've been really dialing in our systems, processes, automation, CRM, and some of the stuff that just takes the effectiveness of what we're doing and the efficiency of our time to the next level. So, there's a lot of things that without outside perspective and people that have been there before and gone through the challenges of these same levels in business, without some guidance, we wouldn't have known where to work. From my upbringing, my dad, his way of teaching was just like, the harder you work, the more successful you be. And I want to teach people some of these things that I've had to learn the hard way in some cases, that it's not all just about putting more work, more hours, and being able to grind harder and be a bigger hustler than everybody. You really have to become a business owner and a leader, and to be able to do delegation at a high level and put right people in the right places in your business so things can run efficiently. And that's one of the big components in business, especially small businesses, that keep them from growing above 5 to 6 people and keep them from ever reaching 7 figures, is some of these just really simple things that, unless you get exposed to them, you just stay right there in that same place.
Right. So how did you develop your leadership skills? And what were some of the initial leadership skills you focused on?
Well, one of my pain points when I first got involved with sales was my leadership skills, my patience with people, my ability to, just sit and listen without being the one always talking and always just thinking that the information had to come from me. And, one of the first personal development books that I ever picked up because of that, and that awareness that I had and that hunger that I had to become a better leader, it was called The 5 Levels of Leadership by John Maxwell. And it was a tough read for me, because he's, depending on where you're at in your career and your reading level and your comprehension, it took me a long time to get through that book. I actually read it twice, just back to back, because I wanted to absorb as much as I could. But, one of the big things that I wanted to focus on was just having the patience with people and being able to listen and understand and be empathetic and let people go through what they were going to have to go through to get to the next level. Because I'd experienced a little bit of both from my mentors, and then from, the way that I was brought up. There's lots of different styles of leadership and teaching, and leading with brute force or love and empathy. And, I was trying to put together a combination of the two that was going to be aligned with who I was. And over the years, I got a bookshelf with a couple hundred books behind me. And it's been a lot of self-reflection and a lot of reading, developing myself, and then putting these things to use on running a business.
Yeah. Yeah. And they say, like, once you become a good leader, right? Like, you really acquire the skills and hone in the skills. The next stage of that, and this is probably where you're passing now, is developing the leaders on your team into great leaders, right? That's what they always say. A great leader is someone who can develop other great leaders.
Yep.
So are you in that phase now? Did you already pass that phase? What does that kind of look like for you? Is that how you made it to the 10 to the 20?
That was, it had a lot to do with getting to 10 and getting to the stage that we're at now, is my ability to attract good leadership. So it's not only being able to attract them, but then it's being the level of leader and keeping your pace ahead of everybody else's with your level of development and the work that you're putting into your reading, your goals, your communication. And, I've certainly not reached the level that I want to as a leader, but I've got some incredible leaders on my team that are helping me expand and open new offices. And I'm just still scratching the surface of what's possible as a leader, because, I want to, that 5th level of leadership that John Maxwell talks about in that book, is that your name becomes synonymous with these success stories and these other leaders and these other people that are making an impact in the world because of the influence that you've had on their lives. And, one of my goals is to create 200 millionaires, and getting close on my first couple. I got a long ways to go still.
So what do you mean by that on your first couple?
I've just, I've got some really good people that I've been working with for the past couple of years on my team.
Yep. Got it. Okay.
That have started to really start to make a good income and practice some of the things that we've been working on over the last several years, with being smart with their money and investing and increasing their skills, offering more value, and doing more than they're paid for. That's one of the big things that separates leaders and people that reach a high level in business is, if you're never capable of doing more than you're paid for, you're never going to reach a level where you're being paid more than what you're doing.
Very true. And are these sales reps, or are these leaders in your company that you're getting there?
So a combination of good sales reps and my COO. He started with me fresh out of college 2.5 years ago. And
wow. So he's what, 24, 25? Gotta be young, right?
Yes, I think he's maybe 28 now.
Wow. Okay. Still young.
But still young. And he's pretty much tripled his income since he started with me, just by being one of those guys that's willing to put in the work, do more than what he's being paid for, and offer an incredible amount of value.
It's amazing, man. So walk me through, obviously you have a lot of other things going on now. You've got a podcast, you've got events, you've got mastermind, you've got all these, real estate deals, walk me through what you're trying to accomplish with your business and what you're doing to try and get it to the next level. And then I want to start talking about some of these other things, but I want to stay there first.
Yeah. Well, one of the big targets is, I didn't create a business to create a job for myself for the next 20 years. My focus on leadership and communication, developing people, is so that I can have a business that runs whether I'm there or not. And I just got back from a family vacation, and I was gone for 6 days, and everything still runs just as efficiently when I'm gone as when I'm there. And now I'm just taking that model, and I got to 10x it over the next 5 years, because we got a goal of going from 20 million to producing $200 million, and preparing the company for an exit and a big sellout. And, just like these ridiculous, crazy ass goals that don't even seem possible. And then, all these other things that I'm doing are as a result of building a business that allows me the time to have a little bit of bandwidth for putting on an event and doing a mastermind and raising $12 million for a real estate opportunity for my investors, and writing a book. This is stuff that only is possible if you build your business with some intention around you not having to be the only guy that everybody relies on.
Right. Systems and processes and that type of stuff.
Exactly.
So how are you going to go from 20 to 200? I love it. Like, are you going to be hiring more people? Are you expanding? Are you opening more offices? Are you going to start, because you're in Utah, right? So are you going to start moving to other states?
Yep. So we have a combination of all those things. I've got some strategic partnerships that I'm working on that are nationwide, where we're going to be partnering up with a solar company that's a very reputable.
I was thinking about that, like, because once they buy solar, they're like, might as well get Windows.
Oh yeah, Windows. It's not talked about a lot in the solar industry because they're just so focused on giving them the biggest, baddest solar system that they can possibly sell people. But these guys that I'm working with have a little bit different focus, where they are about the customer experience and creating a name for themselves and having credibility in an industry that has lost some of the luster because of everybody's focus on just making money, and the customer comes second to everybody's paycheck. And then we are expanding. So we're already in 3 states. I'm in Arizona, Idaho, Nevada, and Utah, outside of just our home base here in Utah. And Texas is on the radar, New Mexico, and Oregon is another great market. So we got a lot of plans for developing leadership and some incentives for the incredible people that I have already on the team to go help us expand into these other areas. And then, of course, you got the digital sales. Over the last 1.5 years, we've really started dialing in and having some partnerships with some digital marketing companies that have changed what's possible for us to market to a whole group of people that we wouldn't necessarily have access to with just the door-to-door approach. So there is a mountain of things that we're working on right now in the business. And then, of course, I got all kinds of stuff going on outside of the business to help me reach my big, crazy ass goals of becoming a billionaire.
You're definitely going to get there, hands down. So do you feel like you're going to be more of a marketing driven company, or are you still going to be sales driven? Or do you feel like it's going to be a pretty even combination of outbound and inbound?
You know what? It's today JKR Windows looks different than I ever thought it would. So I imagine 5 years from now, there's things going on in JKR Windows that I would have never been able to foresee. But right now, the way that I see it is, we gotta have a pretty strong combination of the two. Where I want to be a world-class sales organization that trains its people with the best materials on the planet and has the best accountability and resources for people to come in here and have success. And then, team up with the best marketing companies and develop our own in-house systems for handling all that volume with our CRMs and our follow-up and our nurturing campaigns. So I want to do it all good.
Dude, that's awesome. Tell me about the book. What's the book?
The book is, this has been a work in progress for me for the past 2.5 years. And man, a lot of people want to write a book, but it is a serious undertaking. And the book is all about the lessons and the experiences and the things that I've had to learn the hard way for people in the home services industry, fathers, husbands, entrepreneurs, and things that you can apply to your life to help accelerate the process. It's going to be called All In. How to get unstuck, accelerate, and go further faster.
I like that. I think All In I love the concept because, I remember when I one of the team meetings I was in, when I was at Ole Miss, the head coach, his name was Coach Houston Nutt, and he walked into the meeting room, and we got, NFL stars everywhere, players everywhere. And he came in, Coach Ogeron had just been fired. So he came in as a coach, and he walks in and he's like, if you have one foot in the door and you aren't serious about winning a national championship, get out. This room is only for people who have 2 feet in. This room is only for people who are all in on winning a national championship. And in that year, we went from winning 4 games the year before to winning the Cotton Bowl against Texas Tech, who was ranked like 7th in the country at the time. We were good.
Incredible.
So and we had on our wrists All In, and it's a powerful
mantra.
It's a powerful saying, mantra, because it's true. Like, if you're not committed 100% to what you're doing, you're not going to perform, and there's zero chance you're going to beat out the competition.
Yep.
Right.
And whether you realize it or not, that mentality that so many people are conditioned with to be kind of 1 foot in, 1 foot out, they don't even realize what they're doing, but they've got this like what if scenario and the plan B type of mentality. Right. And, for me, it's been.
Why do you feel that way? Why do you feel people have that?
You know what? We like our comforts. We like to have something to lean back on. And for years and years and years, as I was dealing with drugs and alcohol and addiction and all of the bad habits that I developed over those years with my diet and exercise and going home early from work, I had so many justifications of why I was doing those things. And what better way to justify your behavior than to condition yourself to believe that it's okay, that if this doesn't work, well, I'll just do the next thing.
Right. Do you think it has to do with fear? Like, oh, I'm going to fail. Oh my God, this or that. So they're just like, well, if I only have 1 foot in and it doesn't work out, I never really committed. So
yeah, it's a combination of fear, anxiety, and then, we just live in a type of culture that hasn't really been focused on having a high level of commitment in anything. So that's the one thing that separates the successful is just the level of commitment. For me, that's where this all in mentality and concept has came from. It's, what didn't even come from me. I don't even notice the things that I just do naturally. But when I am around people, telling people my story and the people witnessing the things that I've done over the past 4 years, I started just hearing this all in saying keep coming up. It's like, man, you are just all in on everything that you do, huh? was like, well, I guess, I mean, that's just how I do stuff. I was
I go
all in on
all in.
drugs and alcohol.
I was gonna say all in on the drugs, all
Yeah.
in on business,
And
all
I
probably
just
all
switched
in
it.
on family.
I want to be good at everything, man. And I want to teach people that it's possible. You know, the justifications, the excuses are never going to get you anywhere. And one of the things that I've also developed is, you know, I'm going to give everything a solid effort, and I'm all in for a time. And yeah, I know that I can make anything work, but if it's not going to work, I'm not going to give it 1 second thought. I'm just all in on the next thing.
Right.
And it's worked out pretty well. And you're right, man. One of the most important things to me is my family. And if I build this incredible business and do all these incredible things, but I didn't focus on the most important things to me along the way in my family and my relationship with my wife and my kids, I did it all for nothing. So you got to have a good, strong combination of all the things. And it's a big commitment. It's big responsibility. It's a lot of time. And I get very little sleep because I'm trying to accomplish so much, but you know, it's this season of growth right now that I'm going through that I want to take advantage of.
Right. I love it, man. So walk me through the event. So you got all in, freaking badass. Tell me about the event. What are
Home
we doing
Services Scaling Summit, man. And I'm excited to have you speaking there and talking about the next play and the accountability and the sales component that's so important in business. And, you know, when I say that we don't really have any motivational speakers coming in, I mean, you qualify as the motivational speaker guy, and Coach Bert's going to be there, but we're bringing in some experts. You know, I don't want to just hype everybody up and get them all excited to go home and do something without anything tactical to apply to their business.
No.
We're bringing in an entire team of experts that I've been working side by
Kevin
side
Harrington.
with. Kevin Harrington. Yep. I mean, the original shark from Shark Tank. And this guy has an incredible story, came from the home services industry and has gone on to do incredible things with his life and his career and his businesses and building multiple 6, 7, 8, and 9-figure businesses. And, you know, we're going to be talking about all the most important components in building a home services business.
Now, just to confirm, what is that? That's anything from windows, solar. Can that be tile? Is that like what?
Yeah. I mean, it could be anything. So even like selling insurance. I got a guy coming that built an insurance agency he started when he was 19 years old, and he's 37 now, and he's been retired for 2 years, independently wealthy and a cash millionaire since he was 25 years old. So we've got experts coming in all types of industries in the home services space. I'm in the windows. Kevin Harrington comes from HVAC, and we want to teach people all the things that you apply to your business with recruiting, sales, accountability, systems, processes, automation, culture, environment, leadership, vision. There's a lot of these just really simple principles that until you're exposed to them and start practicing them on a daily basis, you're going to stay stuck right where you are. And that's why most companies very rarely ever make it out of the 6 figures.
Right. It's in September, right?
September 21st and 22nd, Salt Lake City. And we've got the virtual component too. So no matter where you're at, there's no excuse if you got a home services business why you shouldn't be plugging in.
Yeah. How do you get to it? Home services scaling summit.com, right?
That's it.
Listen, yeah. If you're like in any type of home services, door to door, any type of sale like that, you've got to be at this event.
Yep. It'll be life-changing. We've got an incredible team. And, you know, one of the biggest components for me reaching the level of success that I have was the mentor groups, the events, the workshops, the conferences that I went to that not only had great speakers and inspiration, but where I got the most value was being around these other success stories and people that had come from where I was and had gone on to accomplish great things. And then getting to see, you know, the examples of who these people are. It's like these people that have accomplished great things with their life and built their companies to 8 and 9 figures they're not anything special. They are no different than you and I.
Right.
They've just been doing it for longer. They've got more experience. They've surrounded themselves with high quality, high performing people for longer periods of time. And they believed in themselves a little earlier on in the process than where you're at right now.
Right. And that's so important. It doesn't matter, right? It doesn't matter like how long, I had recently someone on the podcast who his dad has owned, it's a home services. He's in Italy. So I'm going to try to get him here. But he's similar to you, man. He built, his dad had they do boilers out in Italy, and it was $150,000 a year business that his dad had had for like 30 years. He
Wow.
took over the business, and in 4 years, just under 4 years, he brought it to 18 million. So very similar kind of, but he took a
Incredible.
business that already existed. And it's like his dad had been doing it for so long, and his dad's like, there's no way this is what this business is, and that's what he did. And so if you're 30, 40, 50, if you've been in business for 20 years, but you're saying to yourself right now, I want more, this is the event. Like you don't have to just be getting started. And I think that's an important thing for anyone here listening. You could be the VP of $100 million home services company and are saying, hey, there's things that at this event that I can learn and use in my business that's going to change the game. So wherever you are, there's enough value and content in this event and networking that I think it's going to be well worth your time, right?
Absolutely, man. Yeah, that's why we're doing it. We know it. We believe it. I eat, sleep, and breathe this type of stuff. And I wouldn't have been able to make it to the level that I have without events like this. And now, just very specifically focused on the home services industry that I know is lacking in events like this that are specific for them.
Yeah, dude, this thing's going to blow up. I'm super pumped, man. I'm super pumped to be there too. So, well, cool, man. I mean, so obviously I always ask what's your next play. And I think this is it, right? It's you continuing to grow your business, but also transitioning to helping others who are in your same position. And I think there's a lot of value and power to that.
There is, man. There's always a next play for me. And sometimes I got too many going on at the same time.
One focus, bro. One play.
But that's the one of the big things right now for me is JKR Windows. I spend the majority of my time working on my baby, JKR Windows, developing people, expanding. We were just doing a meeting this morning before I jumped on with one of my up and coming leaders, and we're opening an office. He's going to be heading it up. We're talking about the future possibilities, income, creating opportunities for people in a new market that are going to change people's lives. And it's exciting. That's one of the biggest things for me. And the reason I'm putting on this event also is because of how much I love the success stories that have come from JKR Windows and having an impact, changing people's lives. And now we're just going to do it on a much bigger scale. And every business owner that we help grow their business, increase their revenue, provide new opportunities, makes bigger waves than me just doing it one person at a time in my own business.
I love it, man. How can someone find you? What's the best way to get in touch with you?
I got my cell phone right on my Instagram page. So I love helping people, love answering questions when I can. But
damn, dude, that's awesome.
Rogers.
Do you really?
I do.
Dude, that's pretty. That's like out there. that's out there.
Dude, that's one of the things that the commitment level that you have to have, the amount of time that I put in promoting myself, doing videos, doing content, spending on my business, on top of all the other things that I'm doing. It's a huge commitment. That's what separates the people that reach a high level of success and the people that just stay average and ordinary is, it's not going to be comfortable. It's not going to be like every day you get home at 5 o'clock and just get to chill and wind down. I am balls to the wall all day, every day, whether it's my family, my business, any of the other multiple business ventures that I have going on. It never stops. And I put my cell phone out there for anybody else who's struggling right now with addiction or with their business or what to do next with hiring or systems and processes. And Jefferson K. Rogers is where you can reach me on Instagram. Home Services Scaling Summit is where you can go to get the tickets for the event in September. And awesome, I'm on all the other platforms too, but I mostly engage with Instagram.
Yeah. I mean, you got a nice following too, man. It's really good.
Yeah,
okay, cool.
It's growing.
Yeah.
Like 3,000 per month. It's starting to really pick up.
Is that really what it? Wow. Okay, cool, man. Yeah. So homeservicesscalingsummit.com and then Jefferson K. Rogers on Instagram. He really does. I'm looking at it right now. You can text him. So if you have questions, if you're interested in the summit, hit him up. Like obviously he's
me out. It goes right to my cell phone.
He's put himself in a vulnerable position where he truly wants to help people. And so most people don't do that. So Jefferson, man, thank you so much for being on the show. It's really been an honor to have you.
Right on, Richie. Thanks for having me on, brother.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Next Play podcast. If you liked the show, make sure to leave us a review. For more resources, visit relentlessuniversity.com or download the free Relentless University app. And if you're interested in having me speak at your next event, visit relentlessrichie.com. Until next time.